Hello everyone. Welcome to the session of Morphology of Flowering Plants Theory Part 3. This is the NCRT section 5.5. Disclaimer, learning objective. So today's lecture learning objective, identify and describe the basic parts of flower. So today we are going to study about the sepals, petals, stamens and pistil. These are the basic parts of the flower. So the four different worlds we are going to study about today. To understand the flower symmetry, we will study about the symmetry of the flower, that is the actinomorphic and zygomorphic. To understand the arrangement of floral parts on the thalamus. So all the floral parts are arranged on the thalamus. So we are going to see how the floral parts are arranged on the thalamus, right? What are the special features about that? So all that we are going to cover up in today's lecture. Explain the functions of the floral parts in reproduction. What are the different functions of the floral part in the process of reproduction? That also we are going to cover up. Index, the flower, that is the 5.5 section of the NCRT, and then we will study the parts of flower 5.5.1 section. Then we will have a summary of today's lecture. After that, there will be some in-text question that is from the NCRT book only, and some keynotes. And at the end, we will have some interesting questions for you. So let us start today's session with the topic flower 5.5. The flower, the reproductive unit of angiosperm. So angiosperm is basically the flowering plants, and there is some reproductive unit. What is the reproductive unit in the angiosperm flower? The flower only. Okay, the flower. The flower is the reproductive unit in angiosperm, and it is the primary function is sexual reproduction. So what is the actual function of this flower? They do participate in the process of reproduction. There are the male and the female reproductive organ, that is the part of the flower only, right? Androecium as a male reproductive part, gynoecium as a female reproductive part. So both the parts are involved in the process of sexual reproduction. Flower structure, the four whorls, and we all know that the four different parts of the flower, that is the sepals, petals, androecium and gynoecium, all are arranged on the thalamus or the receptacle in four different whorls, round and round, like four rounds are there. Outer, then the inner one, then the third inner one, and then the fourth inner one, right? A typical flower consists of the four whorls arranged on the thalamus or the receptacle, the swollen end of the pedicel, that is the flower stalk. So there is a flower stalk, and the distal end, or you can say the pedicel part, the pedicel part becomes swollen. Okay, it becomes swollen, and that swollen part is called as thalamus. That is called as thalamus or receptacle. The swollen part is very, very important because all the floral whorls are attached to this thalamus only, right? It is the base at which all the floral parts are attached. Here you can see figure of a flower, that is the rose flower. You can see the sepals, there are the different petals, right? And after the petals, there are androecium and gynoecium. Okay, so reproductive unit, this is like in the angiosperm, the flower is a reproductive unit. Flower is primary function of flower is sexual reproduction only, right? And one more thing, after the reproduction process, the very important part, what is that? Ovary, the female reproductive organ, the part of the female reproductive organ transformed into fruit, and inside the fruits there are ovules that transformed into the seeds, right? So that we will see when we will study about the sexual reproduction in flowering plant. Here we are going to discuss about the flower. So this is the first slide, like, and then we have discussed that the four different whorls are attached to the thalamus, right? So let us move. Now, these whorls are, what is the name of the whorls? The outermost you see, the calyx. The outermost is the calyx. This is the whole flower. You can see this is the pedicel part at which the all the floral parts are attached, right? There is a calyx, there is a corolla, there is a gynoecium, and there is an androecium. So the four whorls, the outermost name is calyx. Calyx is a scientific term. All the sepals, remember, all the sepals unitedly called as calyx. Sorry. Sepals are usually green and their primary function is to provide the protection when the flower is in the form of bud. They provide protection, right? They provide protection when the flower is in the form of bud. But they can also do the process of photosynthesis as they do contain the chloroplast in them. Inside the chloroplast, chlorophyll is there. So the sepals, along with the protection, providing protection to the buds, right? They are also involved in the process of photosynthesis. This is about the first one. Now coming to the second one, corolla. What is meaning of corolla? Petals, all the petals unitedly, all the petals unitedly called as corolla, right? It is called as corolla. So petals are often colorful. They are brightly colored. They are brightly colored, colorful they are, and their main function is to attract the pollinators, right? Pollinators, insects, basically insects. The third, from the outer side, the third wall is the androecium. Androecium, here you can see androecium. So the unit, that is the stamen, and all the stamen unitedly, it is called as androecium. It is called as androecium, right? So what is this stamen? This is the male reproductive part, and you can see the two parts is there. The male reproductive part, the stamen has two parts. The first is the filament, the stalk-like structure, that is called as filament. The stalk-like structure is called as filament, and at the top, distal end of the filament, they contain anther, and inside the anther only the male reproductive gametes, right? The pollen grain, a male gametophyte is formed, pollen grain, and inside the pollen grain the male gametes are there, right? Okay, coming to the innermost wall, that is the gynoecium. Pistil and carpels. So that can be only one pistil, okay, or carpel, but they can be more also. So unitedly, all the pistil or carpels are called as gynoecium. It is called as gynoecium. Female reproductive part. This gynoecium is the female reproductive part, and it has three different parts. There is a stigma, the uppermost part, that is the stigma. Then the stalk-like structure, that is called as a style, and the basal bulbous part, round or oval in shape, that is called as ovary, right? So gynoecium is having three different parts: stigma, style, and ovary. Okay, so this is the four different whorls of the flower. Now we will study the structure. Calyx and corolla are accessory organ. What is the function of this? These are not the main part of the flower. The main part of the flower are androecium and gynoecium. Because flower, what is the function of flower? The flower function is to participate in the process of reproduction. And what are the reproductive organ? Androecium and gynoecium. Then what is the role of calyx and corolla in the case of flower? These are accessory organ. These are the not main part of the reproduction, but yes, they help in the process of reproduction. So that is why they are called as accessory organ. Calyx and corolla are the accessory organ, but the androecium and gynoecium are the main reproductive organs of the flower. Now, a very important term, perianth. Perianth. Listen it carefully. Perianth. In some flowers, for example, lilies, the calyx and corolla are indistinguishable. You cannot distinguish that this part is the calyx and this part is the corolla. They are indistinguishable and they are collectively called as perianth, right? There are two different types of flower. The flower in which the this calyx and corolla are distinguished. You can properly see that this is the green one outermost and that is the calyx part. And this is the brightly colored, larger in size. They are inner to the calyx, they are corolla. So they are properly distinguishable. But in the case of a perianth, the calyx and corolla are indistinguishable and they are collectively called as perianth. So here you can see, this is the figure of a flower in which you can see the sepals are there, the petals are there. Right? Calyx and corolla are properly distinguishable. But see this flower. This is the calyx and this is the corolla. Okay? But this calyx only give rise this corolla. You cannot differentiate that, right? So in such flower, they are called as perianth. Instead of calling the petals, sepals, calyx, corolla, you will give the term perianth. And the example, one of the example in which you see the perianth is the lilies. Okay, now we will have the sexuality of the flower. We will talk about the sexuality of the flower. So there are two different types of flower. Bisexual flower means they contain both the androecium and gynoecium. Like they are having the stamens and they are having the carpel. So both the reproductive organs are present in the same flower. So that is called as bisexual flower. But there are some flower that are unisexual. They are called as unisexual. Why they are called unisexual? Because either they contain stamen or carpel. Means either they will contain the male reproductive organ or the female reproductive organ. So that flower is called as unisexual, right? So if they contain the stamens, then you will call it the staminate flower. And if they contain the carpel, then they will call it as pistillate flower. Pistillate flower. So here you can see, here you can see the bisexual flower. It is having the stigma, style and ovary. That is the female reproductive organ, carpel. And here you can see they are having the filament and anther, that is called as stamen, as a male reproductive organ. So both the sexes are present at the same flower, bisexual flower. Here you can see unisexual flower. Unisexual flower. Okay, they are having this flower, you see, female flower, it is having the stigma, style and ovary. And this flower, it is not having this ovary. It is not having the ovary, style and stigma. It is just having the male reproductive organ. It is just having the male reproductive organ, right? So two types of flower. And if you talk about the example, so basically your cross-pollinated flower, mostly the cross-pollinated flowers are the unisexual one. One of the example is papaya and another example is watermelon. Yes, cucurbita family, cucurbitaceae family. All your like that cucurbitaceae family, we are having the bottle gourd, right? So that is having the all unisexual flower. Okay. Now we will talk about a very, very important thing, flower symmetry, symmetry of the flower. So flower exhibit two main types of symmetry. Okay, two main types of symmetry, actinomorphic and zygomorphic. When we call it actinomorphic, Actinomorphic is commonly called as radial symmetry also. We have seen the radial symmetry in the case of animals, right? In the same way, there is a radial symmetry or actinomorphic symmetry in the case of flower as well. Flowers can be divided into equal halves along any radial plane passing through its central axis. This is very important point. It is passing through the central axis and it is having many radial plane. So that through that radial plane, it can be divided into two equal halves, right? Example, very important to note down the example. Examples include mustard and dhatura. Mustard and dhatura, showing the actinomorphic or radial symmetry. Coming to the zygomorphic or the bilateral symmetry. Bilateral symmetry means only one plane of axis is there that passes through the central axis and divide the flower into two equal halves, left half and right half. So that is showing the bilateral symmetry or the zygomorphic symmetry, right? So flower can be divided into similar halves along only one vertical plane, right? Pea and bean. If you see the pea plant, their petals are not symmetrical. Okay, they are not showing a very definite type of symmetry. So in that way, they are having only one plane axis that can divide the flower into two equal halves. Pea and bean are the examples. So here you can see actinomorphic. There is one plane. Okay, this is the hibiscus flower. Hibiscus flower. One plane of axis, that is a line showing. This is the another plane of axis. This is the another plane of axis. So it can divide the flower through many different plane of axis, right? So that is showing the actinomorphic symmetry. Coming to the zygomorphic, see this flower. This is only one plane that could divide the flower into two equal halves. So that is the zygomorphic, right? Now see this flower. This is the flower of canna, Canna, canna. So canna flower cannot be divided through any plane of axis that could divide the flower into two equal halves, right? So asymmetric if it cannot be divided into two similar halves by any vertical plane. For example, canna, right? So this is asymmetrical flower. Floral appendages arrangement, that is called as merosity. Now, you must have heard about the flower is trimerous, tetramerous, pentamerous. What is that? A flower is trimerous if the floral appendages are in the multiples of 3. Then you call it as a trimerous flower. Multiples of 3, right? Appendages, the floral appendages are in the multiples of 3. Tetramerous, the floral appendages are in the multiples of 4. So as the number indicate here, 3 for tri, 4 for tetra, and in the same way 5 for penta. Okay, floral appendages are in the multiples of 5, then it is called as pentamerous flower. So here you can see the petals here. 1, 2, 3, trimerous. 1, 2, 3, 4, tetramerous. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, pentamerous, right? So what here we are considering which floral appendages? We are considering the petals, right? So trimerous, tetramerous, pentamerous. And this is called as merosity. Okay, floral appendages arrangement, that is called as merosity. Okay, now presence and absence of bracts. Okay, the flower can be bracteate or ebracteate. When the bracts are present, it is called as bracteate flower. And when the bracts are absent, it is called as ebracteate flower. So here you can see these are the bracts. Okay, this is the bougainvillea flower, and this, the colorful part that you see, this is not the petals. These are called as bracts. Okay, these are called as bracts. So if they are having the bract, then the flower can be called as bracteate flower. So what is bract now? First of all, bract is a modified leaf structure. Very important. It is a modified leaf structure found below a flower or inflorescence. This is not a flower. The flower is this, the yellow part that you see. This is the flower. This is the flower, right? This is the flower. What is this? This is the lower leaf structure. This is some leaf got modified in the form of the colorful, like they are petals, but actually they are not petals. They are doing the function of petals. Leaf-like structure, they got transformed into bracts. So the flowers that contain the bracts are called as bracteate, and the flowers without bracts, if the bracts are not present, then they are called as ebracteate flower. Ebracteate flower. Right? So it is clear about the bracts and ebracteate. So this is not, remember, these are not the petals. These are some modified leaves that are having the very brightly colored. They are very brightly colored. Now, flower classification based on their floral parts position. How the floral parts are arranged on the flower are classified on the basis of that. Let us see that. Flowers are categorized based on the relative position of the calyx, corolla and androecium stamens that respect to the ovary on the thalamus. You all know the thalamus. What is the thalamus? So see this picture. The green part in the first one, that is the thalamus. This is the thalamus part. And you see, this is the ovary and this is the style. This is the stigma. This is the pistil or the carpel part, right? It is attached to the thalamus, right? Okay. So we are seeing what? We are seeing the floral parts. Floral parts. What are the floral parts? Calyx, corolla and androecium. These three parts. We are considering calyx, corolla and androecium with respect to the ovary. All the three parts, the outer three parts, calyx, corolla and androecium, their relation with the ovary on the thalamus. So here you see the calyx, corolla and androecium. These three parts are present where? They are present below. They are present below the ovary. They are present below the ovary. Right? And here what you see? This thalamus part, the rim of the thalamus grow upward, little upward. And here you see the ovary is going downward. Right? What about this? It is somewhat rising here. Somewhat rising here. And in this, the ovary is embedded downward in the thalamus and all the floral parts are rising above the ovary. This is the calyx, this is the corolla and this is the androecium. What is the position of these three? These three are above the ovary in the case of epigynous, right? So let us see. First one, hypogynous flower. Hypo. Ovary is superior because ovary at the top. Why ovary is superior? Because ovary is present at the top of the thalamus and all the other parts are coming downward to the ovary. Okay. So position above the attachment point of the floral parts. And the calyx, corolla and androecium arise from the thalamus below the ovary. They are also attached to the thalamus, but they are attached below the ovary. So in this case, your ovary is superior to the other parts, calyx, corolla and androecium, right? So hypogynous flower, always remember ovary is superior. The other part, perigynous, ovary is superior or half inferior. It is in between position. In between position. Calyx, corolla, and androecium arise from the rim or the disc of hypanthium around the ovary. So here you can see B and C figure. The thalamus is not flat here. You can see the thalamus is growing upward. So this is the rim of the thalamus. This is called rim. This part is called as the rim of the thalamus. And all the floral parts are attached to the rim of the thalamus. In this C also, but in the case of B, it is grown more as compared to this one. So here what you see, the ovary is half inferior. We can say it is not totally superior. It is half inferior, right? Calyx, corolla, and androecium arise from the rim. It is not below. It got arised, and they are present on the rim of the hypanthium or the thalamus. Next, epigynous flower. Very simple. Ovary is inferior. Why? Because all the other parts of the flower, they are present above the ovary. The calyx, corolla, and androecium appear to arise from the top of the ovary. Here you can see they are present at the top of the ovary. You can see the this stamen is attached. You can see this petals is attached, sepals is attached above the ovary. So this condition is called as epigynous. Calyx, corolla, and androecium appear to arise from the top of the ovary. The ovary is embedded within the receptacle. Receptacle means thalamus. So here the ovary is embedded inside the receptacle or the thalamus. Okay. Now parts of flower. Each flower normally has 4 whorls, that is called as calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. This we have already covered up. So here you can see the calyx, corolla, androecium, and gynoecium. These are the 4 different whorls of the flower. Now we will talk about the calyx. The calyx is the outermost whorl of the flower, and the members are called as sepals. So all the sepals unitedly called as calyx. Don't get confused. Sepals are the units and the calyx are all the group of the sepals. Okay. Generally, the sepals are green, leaf-like, and they protect the flower in the bud stage. So when the flower is in the form of bud, all these sepals are unitedly closing the inner whorls of the flower. Inner whorls of the flower, right? And they protect the inner flower. And when they are green in color, they can do the process of photosynthesis also, right? So dual function, sepals. Okay. The calyx may be gamosepalous. This term is very, very important. When all the sepals are united, it is called as gamosepalous condition. When all the sepals are free, it is called as polysepalous, sepals free, polysepalous condition. So here you can see this is the hibiscus flower. See the flower carefully, hibiscus flower. All the sepals are united and forming a tube-like structure. It is forming a tube-like structure, gamosepalous, in the case of this Hibiscus rosa sinensis, hibiscus flower. And in the case of rose, all the sepals are free. This is one sepal, this is second, this is third. So in this way, all the sepals are free. So polysepalous when sepals are free, gamosepalous when sepals are united. Now, corolla, the second whorl from outer side. Corolla is composed of petals. So as the calyx is composed of sepals, corolla is composed of petals. Unit is petal. All the petals unitedly called as corolla, right? Petals are usually bright colored to attract the insect for the pollination. So they are meant for the attracting the pollinators, right? Because these pollinators, when they see this bright color, they know that the flower is there. They go there for the nectar. for the pollen grain, because that is the food material. They get food from that. And while visiting those flower, they can do the process of pollination there, right? So like calyx corolla may also be, we have studied about the gamosepalous, polysepalous condition. Now, the petals can also be fused. As the sepals are fused, the petals can also be fused. When all the petals are fused or united, it is called as gamopetalous condition. It is called as gamopetalous condition. And when all the petals are free, it is called as polypetalous condition, right? The shape and the color of the corolla vary greatly in plants. The corolla is not only the red color. It can be red, it can be purple, it can be blue, it can be yellow, white. So different shades of the color you can see in the case of corolla. Corolla may be tubular, bell-shaped, funnel-shaped, or wheel-shaped. So here you can see gamopetalous. You can see all the petals are united. All the petals are united. And here you can see the tube, and then it is showing the bell shape. Okay. So that can be tubular, that can be bell shaped, that can be funnel shaped, or even the wheel shaped. And here you can see all the petals are free. This is 1, 2, 3. All the petals are free. They are not united. So when they are not united, this is called as polypetalous. As you see in the case of lotus. Yes. In the case of rose even. Hibiscus. Just now we have seen the gamosepalous condition in the case of hibiscus. But what about in the case of petals? The petals are not gamopetalous. It is polypetalous. So this is very, very important to know the term, and you can apply that term while seeing that flower. Any flower you see in your environment, you should think about what type of sepals they are having, what type of petals they are having, right? Now, a very, very important topic we are going to study about the parts of flower, that is called as estivation. The mode of arrangement of the sepals or petals in flower bud with respect to the other members of the same whorl is known as estivation. Now, what they are saying, how the sepals and petals are arranged on the, means attached to the thalamus with respect to the same whorl. Same whorl. Sepals is having one whorl. So one sepal, two sepal, three sepal. How they are arranged in the sepal whorl. Now similarly, petals. There may be many petals. So one petal, two petal, three petal. How these petals are arranged in the petal whorl, right? So that is called as estivation. The main type of estivation are valvate, twisted, imbricate, and vexillary. These are the different types of estivation. Here you can see the 4 different types of estivation, right? The first one, valvate estivation. Valvate estivation. You can see the corner. The corner is touching. It is not overlapping. Any sepals is not overlapping, right? Or petals. It can be sepal, it can be petal, right? So, see, no overlapping of the whorls. But what about here? This is one end is overlapping the preceding one. If we start from here, in the case of twisted, because one of the end is twisted. How it is twisted? See, this is, we are starting from this one. So this is down, this end is down, but this end is up to the next one. And see the definition, what the definition is saying. Arrangement of sepals or petals in the floral bud with respect to the other member of the same whorl. So this is one member and this is the other member of the same whorl, right? So this end is upward, and now this become down, this become upper, this become down, this become upper, this become down, this become upper, right? So you can see one end of the sepal is downward with the preceding one, and the other end is upper side to the succeeding, right? So this is the twisted arrangement of the sepals or petals on the thalamus. Coming to the imbricate estivation. Imbricate estivation. See, this is not a very a regular type of estivation as we see in the case of twisted. See here. This is upward, this is downward. If we start from here, this is downward, this is upward. But see here, this one become down at both the end, and this become upward, this become down, and this become upward to both the ends, right? So there is a not any definite pattern in the case of imbricate estivation, right? These two are having the definite pattern, but this is not having any definite pattern. Coming to this, waxillary, very, very important. Waxillary. See, estivation is for both. When you see the floral diagram, you see there is a estivation for petals as well as the sepals. So this, the four different types of estivation is common arrangement for the sepals as well as the petals, right? If the sepal is having imbricate, so imbricate estivation. If the petals is also having the imbricate, then it is also having the imbricate estivation, right? The thing is same, but the petals could have, one of the flower could have a velvet estivation for sepals, but twisted for the petals, right? So you should know how the arrangement is there. How the arrangement, whether it is a sepal or petal, but how the arrangement is there, right? So see this waxillary. Waxillary. This is one of the petal, very large petal, very large petal, because the two petals are united here. See, this is the supreme one, and this is the two side, and this is again united here. So this is the zygomorphic. Only one symmetry could be there. And example is pea plant. Example is the pea plant, waxillary estivation. Very, very important. Let us see one by one all the different types of estivation here. The first one, valvate. When the sepals or petals in a world, sepals or petals. Now it is clear. Sepals or petals. So this valvate estivation is same for sepals as well as for the petals. So in a word, touch at the margin without overlapping. There is no overlapping. There is no overlapping. So valvate estivation. Example is calotropis. Very, very important. Valvate estivation is shown by calotropis. This is a very, very important flower. Okay. For Hindus, they make a garland of this flower and they go for the Shiva temple, right? So this is very, very famous, calotropis. Okay, in Hindi we call it Madar. Calotropis shows the valvate type of estivation. Coming to the next one. Twisted estivation. When one margin overlap the next and continues. So this is common here. Okay, proper arrangement. And the examples, see, the examples are very, very important. There are a lot of terms. There are a lot of terms in this particular chapter, and at the same time, the examples are there. So do remember the examples. So twisted estivation we see in the case of China rose. China rose means hibiscus flower. Hibiscus and cotton. Both belong to the Malvaceae family. This China rose and cotton both belong to the Malvaceae family. So they are having the twisted estivation. This is the China rose or hibiscus. Next, imbricate estivation. Imbricate. Margin of sepals, petals overlap randomly. There is no definite orientation of overlapping. Two are having a proper overlap. One margin is overlapping, but another is going downward, right? But at some places you will see both the ends are overlapping to the next two outerward, right? So they are not having any proper systematic overlapping system. So random overlapping is there. Imbricate estivation. Example, cassia and gulmohar, cassia fistula, the yellow color flower in groups, inflorescence. And this is the one of the imbricate estivation gulmohar flower, right? Gulmohar flower. So they are showing this imbricate type of estivation. Next, the last one is the vexillary. Standard petals overlaps the wings which overlap the keel's petal. Right? So P and bean are the example. You can see the standard one overlapping. The standard overlaps the wings, the two wings. And the one which I told you that both the sepals are united, petals are united, they form the standard petals. Inside the standard, there are two wings, and inside the wings, there are keel petals. Keel petals. So P and bean, they are showing the vexillary estivation, and this is also one of the examples for the zygomorphic symmetry. Right? Now we will talk about the androecium. Androecium is composed of stamens, right? Each stamen consists of a stalk or a filament and an anther. So they are the stalk-like structure. They are having the filament at the top or the distal end of the filament. They are having the anther, right? Each anther is a bilobed structure. If you cut the anther, you can see the two lobes are there, and each lobe is having two chambers. So how many chambers are total there? 4 chambers, because two lobes are there. In each lobe, two pollen sacs are there. So there will be 4 pollen sacs are total, right? The pollen grains are produced inside the pollen sacs only. And sometime you see that some of the stamens become sterile. Sometimes some of the stamens become sterile, and that is called as staminode. That is called as staminode, right? So this is the structure of a stamen. You can see this is the filament part and this is the anther. So you can see the two lobes. The anther is one lobe is this and one lobe is this. In one lobe there will be two anther sac. In the second one also there will be the two anther sacs. So total there will be 4 anther sacs or the pollen sacs, right? Now here you can see some of the stamens are sterile. They are not producing viable pollen grain inside them. So they are called as staminode. They are called as staminode. Stamens may be unite with the petals or among themselves. So when they are unite with the petals, means they are attached to the petals, they are called as epipetalous stamen. And attached to the petals, like brinjal. In the case of brinjal, the stamen is attached to the petals. They are not free, they are attached to the petals. That condition is called as epipetalous condition, right? Epiphyllous. Here we have studied about the perianth, when the sepals and petals are not distinguished. There is one, this sepals and petals sometimes get fused. So that is called as perianth. And there the stamens get fused with the perianth. That condition is called as epiphyllous. Example is lily. When you see the lily flower, you see that the stamens are united with the perianth there. So that is called as epiphyllous condition. So here you can see this is the flower of lily and these are the stamens, this dark red color, these are stamen and it is attached to these petals, right? And this is the epipetalous condition. The stamens are attached to the petals in the case of brinjal. Stamen can be free. All the stamens can be free. So polyandrous, or they can be united. United stamens can be monoadelphous. If all the stamens are present in one bundle, then you called it monoadelphous condition. When they are present in the two bundles, then you call it as a diadelphous condition. Diadelphous condition. And when there are multiple bundles of stamen, then it is called as polyadelphous condition. So filament length can be vary with the flower, salvia and mustard. The stamen are two types. One are larger, one are smaller. Okay. So the length is varying in the case of salvia and mustard. This is the polyandrous stamen. Polyandrous. All are free. The first line, stamens can be free. Polyandrous, all are free. See this. All the monoadelphous, all the stamens are in one group. Monoadelphous condition. This diadelphous condition. All this you see in the case of pea plant. There are total 10 stamens in the case of pea plant. 9 are present in one group and one single is present in the another group. So this condition where the stamens are arranged in two groups, that is called as diadelphous condition. So remember, in case of pea plant, you are having the diadelphous condition. Polyadelphous, multiple bundles. You can see there are so many bundles. Now we will talk about the gynoecium. Gynoecium is the female reproductive part of the flower and it is made up of one or more carpels. Right? Similarly, like gynoecium, all the carpels unitedly, it is called as gynoecium. Carpel consists of three parts, namely stigma, style and ovary. So upper part is the stigma, that is the basal part at which the pollen grain comes and rests. Okay, then there is a stalk-like structure that is called as style, and the lowermost bulbous round part that is called as ovary. So ovary is an enlarged basal part on which lies the elongated tube and the style. So here you can see the stigma, this is the style, and this is the round structure which is called as ovary. The style connects the ovary to the stigma. So this the tube-like structure, that is called as style. It is a connection between the stigma and the ovary. That is the condition of the connection, right? Stigma is usually at the tip of the style and it is receptive surface of the pollen grain. So it receives the pollen grains. And each ovary bears one or more ovules attached to the flattened disc-like structure that is called as placenta. Cushion-like structure that is called as placenta, right? The ovary, inside the ovary, the ovules are present and the ovules are attached to the flattened disc-like structure that is called as placenta, right? So here you can see this is the ovary part. Inside the ovary there is an ovule. Now when more than one carpel is present, then they may be free, as in the case of lotus and rose, that is called as apocarpous condition. That is the apocarpous. You see the lotus. Have you seen the lotus female reproductive organ? You get the seeds also, and that seeds is edible. You can eat that seed, lotus seed, right? They are all free. They are not united. All the carpels are free, not united. That condition is called as apocarpous, right? But when all the carpels are fused together, that condition is called as syncarpous, right? That you see in the case of mustard and tomato, right? After fertilization, the ovule develops into the seed and the ovary matures into the fruit. This you all know, that when there is a process of fertilization, the ovary transformed into fruit and the ovules transformed into the seeds. So all the seeds that you see in the case of fruit, that are ovules only, right? So this is the condition apocarpous. All are free. This is one carpel, this is second carpel, this is third carpel. And this is the syncarpous you see here. This is one carpel, this is two carpel, this is three carpel, but all are fused. So this is a common wall you can see in the case of syncarpous. And that because of this, it becomes unilocular. And how many locules you see here? 1, 2, 3 locules, right? Syncarpus tetralocular. This is one locular, and this you can see the tetralocular. 1, 2, 3, 4 locules in the case of Syncarpus. Ovary are fused, but their walls are distinct. Here the ovary are fused, but their walls are not distinct. So only one locule is there, but here 4 locules is there. Now we will talk about the placentation. Very important point. Arrangement of ovules within the ovary is known as placentation. So placentation are of different types: marginal, axial, parietal, basal, central or free central. So here you can see marginal one. All ovules are arranged at they are attached to the margin. So that is called marginal. Axial, this is one axis. This is the ovary and this is the axis. All the ovules are attached to the axis and you can see the locules. So this is called axial placentation, in which there is one common axis and all the ovules are attached to that axis. Axial placentation. Parietal placentation, ovules are attached to the walls of the ovary. See, they are attached to the walls of the ovary. So that is the parietal placentation. Free central, one central axis and all the ovules are attached to that central axis, but there is no locule. To this, see the B and D structure. What is the difference? Only the locule structure. If the locules is not present, then this one and this one will become the same, right? So this is the difference between the axial and free central. The basal placentation, here, it is attached to the base. So now we will see one by one. Marginal placentation, the placenta forms the ridge and ovules form the 2 rows, right? We see in the case of P. Axial placentation, the ovules attached to the central axis in the multilocular ovary. The ovary is many locules and all the ovules are attached to the central axis, that we see in the case of tomato. Again, examples are very important. Parietal placentation, ovules developed on the inner wall of the ovary, that we see in the case of mustard, right? Ovary becomes 2-chambered due to the false septum. When you see the seeds, fruit of this mustard, you see there is a false septum, that you see in the case of mustard and argemone. You can write, to remember all the examples, you can write the name of the placentation in one column and example in the column, and wherever you study, you can place that thing there. So like this, you can remember, revise every day, revise every day. In a week or so, you will remember every examples. Don't worry about that. Ovules on the central axis with the absent septa. No septa is there. Dianthus and primrose. And this is called free central placentation. Okay. This is the free central placentation. The last one, basal placentation. The placenta develops at the base of the ovary and single ovule is attached to it. Only one ovule is attached there, right? And it is attached with the placenta, base of the ovary. Sunflower and marigold, only one ovary is there. Only one ovule is there, single ovule in each ovary. So this is the basal placentation, sunflower and marigold. Now we will have a summary. Flower is the reproductive structure of the angiosperm because they are having the reproductive organs. Sepals, petals, stamen and carpel, these are the 4 different walls of the flower. Sepals is a protective function. Petals are pollinators, helping as a attracting pollinators. Stamens, that is the male reproductive organ, produces pollen grain. Carpels, they are the female reproductive organ, contains ovules in it. Flowers can be regular, that can be actinomorphic, many showing the radial symmetry, irregular, zygomorphic, showing the bilateral symmetry, right? And there are some flowers that do not show any type of symmetry, right? Now there is some in-text question. Explain the function of presence or absence of bracts in the flowering plants. What is the function of presence or absence of bracts? So function of bracts in flowering plants. So bracts are having so many functions. Protection of the young flower buds, attract pollinator because they are brightly colored, though they are leaves, okay, but they are brightly colored. Support and structural stability, photosynthesis if they are green, they can do the process of photosynthesis. Help in the seed dispersal, store nutrients and temperature regulation as well. Absence of bracts, energy conservation. If they are not having bracts, then energy can be conserved, reduce water loss, less resource allocation, direct flower exposure to the pollinators, faster flower development and lower maintenance cost. Differentiate between the gamopetalous and polypetalous. Let us see the answer. So these are the differences. Petals are fused or united to form a tube or a funnel or a bell shape. Petals are free and separate from each other. Sympatalous or monopetalous, corypetalous or apopetalous. That is the alternative name. If you can simple remember this name only. This is the alternative names. Petals arrangement. Petals are joined together for at least parts of their length. Okay, some parts of their length, but they are joined. Petals are completely separated and distinct. Structure, they are united corolla tube or the specific shapes. Individual petals maintain their separate identity. But here, they are not having any separate identity because all are fused, right? Pollination, usually specialized pollination mechanism due to the tube formation. Some birds are there, hummingbirds are there. They comes to the tube-like structure, the flower which is having tube shape. They go forward and then they come backward. Okay, have you seen the hummingbirds? Smallest bird, okay, that are helping in the process of pollination, right? So generally they visit to the tube flower, tube-shaped flower. Examples, morning glory, petunia, datura, tobacco, bellflower. This is the most important thing. Gamopetalous flower. Polypetalous flower, rose, lily, buttercup, mustard and cotton, right? Modification of sepals. So here you can see hooded in the aconitum. Example is the aconitum. Pappus sepals, sunflower. Leafy or petaloid, the sepals in the form of leaf only or a petaloid, musenda. Spurred, larkspur, and spinous in the case of trapa. Water chestnut, trapa. In Hindi we call it singhada. Free stamen are called as polyandrous stamen. All the stamens are free, then it is called as polyandrous stamens. According to the length of stamen, it can be tetradynamous condition, 4 long and 2 short. We have talked about this. The length of the stamen are not same. Okay, 4 are long and 2 are short. In the case of brassica, brassica means mustard, tetradynamous condition. Didynamous condition, 2 long and 2 short. In the case of ocimum, ocimum tulsi. The mode of attachment of the anther to the filament varies greatly in flowers. Types of fixation of anthers. So here we are having the dorsifixed Hibiscus rosa sinensis, versatile grasses, basifixed datura, adenate, magnolia and ranunculus. This is the types of anthers that get fixed to the anther, how they are attached to the anther. So these are the types and these are the examples. Now these are some of the interesting questions that you are going to solve with your own. Differentiate between hypogynous, perigynous and epigynous flower. Next question. Explain the importance of reproductive part of a flower. What are the types of polyandrous stamen? And fourth one, describe the different types of placentation. We have studied the placentation today, so you have to describe that. So this is all about today's session. Thank you very much for attending today's session. We will meet again tomorrow, same time. Till then, take care and bye.